What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories in the life of a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a young and bright assistant coach with a tremendous basketball mind, outstanding work ethic, great, he's an excellent talent evaluator, an elite recruiter, a teacher as well, a great developer with talent, and he's a Dumfries, Virginia native. But even before that, I knew that he was, he was an outstanding player as a point guard. I coached against him for 2 years when he was in college. He was in the same league. So I've been watching the next guest for a while. He did end up coming to where I coached, but like I said, he was in our league, a person I had known and watched, had an outstanding career. So I want to welcome Justin Burrell to the show. Before we even bring him on, like I said, he's a Dumfries, Virginia native. Before we bring him on, we'll read a little bit about his bio. Graduated from Holy Cross 2015, where he had a outstanding 4-year career. There's unbelievable things there at Holy Cross. And from there, he got into coaching, which I'm not shocked. Always was a leader, floor general. Got into coaching with the high school route first. He was at Millwood High School in Richmond, Virginia, before going to Richmond area. And then he also coached AAU with the Team Loaded program. And then he went to the Hunt School up in Princeton, New Jersey, where he spent a full semester at the Hunt School teaching before he actually got a call to go into college coaching, which I'm not, like I said, I'm not shocked to that. It's the second semester there. He's up at Lafayette College, which was another team in the league that he played against. He spent 4 years there with Fran O'Hanlon. Did an outstanding job at Lafayette College. And then before coming back closer to home, took a job in the spring at Mount St. Mary's, where he had a chance to work for his former assistant coach that was at Holy Cross. So, and I know Dan, we go way back when Dan I was an assistant at, actually at American, even probably before that. And I was at Brown in Central Connecticut. So I know him very well going back. But I want to welcome to the show, man, Justin Burrell. This is a guy, like I said, I watched as a player. I've seen him as a coach, and he's going to be in this profession for a long time. And he's going to one day run his own program. So welcome to the show, Justin.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Lamar. Excited to be here.
Well, look, man, we came on to get unmasked, and like I said, I'm happy you taking time out of your evening right before this season start. One of the first questions I like to ask, and you've been in it, so you've been on the other side, you've seen what it's like as a player, and then you get into coaching. But one thing you find out once you get into college coaching, the difference is there's no handbook to being a college coach. Tell me about your first day, week, month, and you jumped into the middle of the season. So like yours is a little different. After things are done with human resources and orientation, especially like no one gives you direction, right? So you've seen it, but being a player and then you like, hey, coaches actually go through this and go through that, you have no idea. Talk about your experience, man, when you like first jumped in. How was that like? Now you jumped in during the season, so but talk about that experience.
Yeah, for sure. I actually have a really good story about that. My first week as a college coach, as an assistant, I was dealing with Fran O'Hanlon at Lafayette College. And I kind of just was talking to him about, what exactly would my role be, just based off of the time that I had come to the staff, and just what his expectations were of me. And he just told me to keep it simple, was just to go ahead and earn the trust of the players, just have quality conversations with them, just let them know that you do have a solid basketball mind, And when you give them advice that they can, actually take it, and do something with it, and that you're going to point them in the right direction. So pretty much my first week, honestly, was just being in the gym, being around and finding some type of way to contribute, because, and you can attest to this as well, that when you are on a staff, everybody has their role established. You may have somebody that, is good at personnel, somebody that handles the offensive side, a defensive coach, somebody that does the workouts and the skill development. So, just making sure that I didn't step on anybody's toes, and then also just taking some type of initiative. And like I said, just finding some way to contribute. So pretty much what I did was just kind of be in the gym, from early in the morning until everyone left. Because that's also just the space where I'm probably the most comfortable. With me not being an assistant at that time, and this has been my first experience, I hadn't really been in the office. I hadn't really been around administration or things like that. But, one area, where I knew I could be comfortable was on that basketball court. So, I just stayed in there as much as possible.
Awesome, man. And you know what? You lend a different perspective. So I'm glad to hear that. It's very unique. You don't usually come in during the middle of the season, and he allowed you to be comfortable and said, be your best, be who you are, be the best at that, and don't worry about anything else. And so I mean that's great of him recognizing, like, to make you comfortable, and you're young enough. You're 2 years removed at that time from being a player, and then now understanding what those guys are thinking and things of that nature. So that's actually awesome. Recruiting, we all know that's the lifeline of college athletics. You have to get, good players. You got to get good people, and then good students. And you understand, you've always been a good student. You ended up going to Holy Cross. You get a degree. Now you end up at Lafayette. And now you're at Mount St. Mary, so you can tie either one of them you want in. But in recruiting, it's never a perfect situation. But talk about your best and worst recruiting stories you may have had, in your short period of time of being a college coach.
Yeah, so for the most part, my recruiting experiences, they went pretty well. Any recruit that I have, I try to, build a relationship with the student athlete first. And then also just, letting the parents, the situation that I'm in, and then also letting them understand that, the institution that I was working for at that time or right now, what we have to offer. So that's just pretty much my foundation right there. And then you just got to hustle a little bit too, find out who's in their immediate circle, who they confine with, whether it's their high school coach or their AAU coaches. But, I definitely would say that anybody that's in college coaching has had some type of, recruiting experience where you just like, man, this is not going very well, or they don't have a realistic, outlook of where they are right now, from a college basketball standpoint, and what they're capable of doing. So you always get like the kids or maybe the parents or somebody that, just has some outlandish question. But, I think at some point when I was at Lafayette, I was recruiting somebody. I can't remember who it was, but the mom just goes like, yo, do you think he's one and done? And I'm like, I don't know about that. We don't really deal with that here in this league. But that was probably my wildest recruiting experience right there. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. What it done. I mean, you know it because we both were in the league at the same time. I mean, CJ McCollum wasn't one and done.
Uh-huh.
Mike Scholar wasn't one and done. And those guys were good. Like I saw CJ, early. I saw him, we saw him early. Like you saw him, might have been his junior year, I believe. I saw him his, sophomore year. I knew he was a pro, but he wasn't one and done kid. Same thing with Mike Muscala. They've both been in the league for a long time. Like I think it's going on 9 years now, but they weren't one and done kids. And those are two of the best kids that ever come to the Patriot League. You can say that. So that's kind of interesting right there, saying that. Sacrifice, man. We all know that's a big word in this profession. I don't think people understand how much you have to sacrifice, how much you have to give to achieve your current level of success. Like, talk about what you have to give up, because you're still, think about it. You're 6 years removed from graduating. So
Yeah.
you're not even 30 yet, right? So like think about how much time you missed with your friends, or like family members and things like that. What did you have to sacrifice to achieve your current level of success?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a really good point right there. So my journey in coaching actually didn't start immediately out of school. So I was fortunate enough to graduate from Holy Cross, so that provides you with like a solid foundation from an educational standpoint. And I was able to get a job in the mortgage industry. I was working for SunTrust Mortgage out in Richmond, Virginia, and that's when I was coaching at the Millwood School and also working with Team Loaded as well. I did that in my spare time. And I was doing pretty well. I actually had like a legit position as a mortgage processor, and I was making decent money as well. But me being attached to basketball as much as I was my entire life, I just felt like I wanted a little bit more from that aspect. So I decided to pursue, college coaching. And one sacrifice I made was I had to leave that job. I stepped away from it, and I said, in order for me to get into college coaching, I think I needed to be surrounded by basketball a little bit more, and that's when I ended up at the Hunt School. So I wouldn't say it was a setback, but it was definitely something where I had to say, okay, maybe the money that I'm making at this time isn't what I want it to be. But if I can put myself in a position to constantly be around the people that know me for what I did in my playing career, I thought maybe I would have some success in getting on in the college ranks. And sure enough, how I got on was I'm at the Hunt School and we have, a couple of kids that are getting recruited, by some academic institutions, right? So, I'm watching people from the Ivy League come through. They're sending their assistant coaches to our open gyms. People from the Patriot League, they're coming through and they're, like, man, Justin Burrell, we literally just played against you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here now, you know, and I was just their point of contact when they wanted to recruit our guys. They're like, well, I know you, you know me, if anything is going on with this guy's recruitment, can you give me a call or can I give you a call? So I'm exchanging contacts. And I know, in this business, your network is your net worth, so like who really helps you out. And Lafayette was one of the schools that was recruiting one of our guys. So they had a coach leave, and when they needed somebody to fill that spot, they hit my line because I had been in contact with them. So I will definitely say that my sacrifice it paid off, and I was able to reap those benefits.
Awesome, man. And like you said, I mean, your passion has always been basketball, and it's kind of hard. Like you get into and a lot of times money doesn't replace that. Like your passion. So I understand it. I was similar. Like I was away from it for a few years because I wanted to make money. And then before I got into college coaching, got into coaching in general, and it took me 3 years, but like it gets back to it. And so it's safe to say that your path chose you. You didn't choose your path. Like that's what you always wanted to do. So your path kind of chose you to, hey, you're a basketball coach, you're an educator, you're a teacher. This is what you do. So, and I'm glad the game is good for that. With you being in it, I definitely want to say that. We'll talk about scouting reports because that's a huge part of the process as well. Like, knowing your opponents, getting your team prepared, knowing not to give them too much, but giving them enough. I think a lot of times as coaches, we get caught up in, we want them to know what we know, but we got to remember they got so much other stuff going on. You can't give them too much stuff. They got classes going on, social life. It's a whole lot of stuff that goes along with that. So, like I said, you got to be able to give them enough information. You got to be able to dictate that to the student athlete so they can understand it, process it, and you hope that they follow the game plan. Like that's what you're hoping. But with saying all that, then you got your coach who like you're telling him what you think, and then you're saying, Coach, like guys shot 3 for his last 25 from 3, he's struggling. Coach thinking you saying he can't shoot. He makes his first 2. Coach turning to you like you told me he couldn't shoot. I never said that, Coach. You know how that is. So talk about your best and worst scout reports you may have had so far in your career?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question as well. First of all, me personally, my opinion, from my playing career and my time as a coach, I would say less is more. I always think that, in the spur of the moment, when the game is moving at a very fast pace, how much information will these players remember, when a guy checks in the game? Are they able to process all of that? If you put a whole paragraph right there, in his description, are they gonna remember all of that? Probably not, but I would definitely say probably my best scouting report, just for the situation, probably was we beat UPenn when I was at Lafayette. And just, Coach O'Hanlon, he really takes that matchup pretty serious, just because he plays against Steve Donahue, which was one of his assistants. And then UPenn is also pretty good. So we matched up against them when they were, had some talent on their roster. And we kind of got at them a little bit. But, also the reason I would say that was probably my best scouting report was because their offense is, very intricate. They're going to run some complicated sets. And I was able just to, through watching a quality amount of film, just to pick up on some of their trends. So, I was pretty proud of myself about that one. But some of my, have I had some bad scouting reports before? Yeah, you come back. And I'll say this, though, what is a bad scouting report? I would say a bad scouting report is anytime the players aren't able to comprehend, what you're putting down. You might have thought that you had everything covered, but if they aren't picking up that information and you're not putting it in a way that they can understand and obtain exactly what you're saying, then that's a bad scouting report. And I think part of that job as a coach, as assistant coach, is just being able to speak the same language, as your players. And one thing that's been able to help me is being a little bit closer to age, to the guys on the roster. So, I think that's been a good a situation for me.
Awesome, man. You said you had some great points in there. So that I love, when you spoke about. So I hope, young coaches or any coach can hear what you're saying and they can use that, especially about relating to the players and understanding you understanding their language and what they speak and what they understand versus you just throwing stuff at them and, hoping that they figure out what you're saying and it doesn't work. And like you just said too, you can do the best scout report. And if you don't, you can do the best scout report, think you did a great job, lose by 20. And you can do a bad scout report and you think you didn't cover everything and win by 20. So, like you said, like it's different ways you look at it. It's just a lot of times it comes down to it. Did the player, did he get the information? And we all know there's still 18 to 22-year-old kids and so much stuff going on as well. So, but I love your points, man. I definitely love your points. What's the biggest challenge, man, you think you've experienced since you've been in college coaching?
Biggest challenge I've had is just, I would say just making sure people understand how serious I am about my craft. At times I think because of my age that I got in, I was an assistant at 25, so it's not very common for an assistant to be that young. And people, they kind of just write you off as, oh, he's not serious about it, or he's not, going to do the things that he's supposed to be doing, or, can we trust him when he is out on the road? Is he going to be where he's supposed to be, doing what he's supposed to be? And I just, take it upon myself that every time somebody sees me, I got to let them know that, I'm taking this opportunity serious and I'm not taking it for granted. So just constantly just, being about your work, being where you're supposed to be. I feel like I just have to prove myself at times, and I don't have a problem with that because, also being a player, I was put in those situations. So it's really nothing new for me.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna pick it back on that because it tie into it. So a little bit, do you find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand? I know you talked about being young and all that, but people look at you not like you okay, they know you work hard and all that stuff, but Is there anything that they might look at you and be like, and they misunderstand about you though?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I think all the time people, you know, they sometimes may think I'm putting on a front or something like that. But you know, one thing that I want to bring to college coaching is, as a young Black male, is making sure that it's okay for us to be ourselves. You know, when I'm in the basketball gym, I carry myself. I think it's a safe space. You know, a place where, you know, basketball players can come, and it's not, you know, a place where they should be stressed out. You know, this should be a place where it's a release, a creative space. You know, so you know, people might misunderstand, you know, my body language or something in the gym. But you know, whenever I'm in the basketball gym, you know, I just want that energy to be contagious. You know, and also just to rub off on the players as well. Uh, Things, you know, I've heard, which kind of throw me off a little bit. You know, you know, people will assume that you up to no good, especially on the recruiting trail, you know, things like that. But nah, that's not me. That's not me at all.
Well, I know I definitely never heard that, but
Yeah.
that
Well,
part, but
not just, you know, specifically to me, you know, I'm
right,
just
yeah, I know
talking
about other,
about,
yeah,
you know, people that have my makeup and my build.
that's true. I feel you on that. Um, what do you try? Because we're all educators, and you went back to, you know, you went to the Hunt School, you were a teacher there. So kind of naturally, as a point guard, you've always been a leader. Um, what would you try to teach or educate, or what do you try to teach or educate to your players besides basketball? Because I heard you talk about, you know, about being in the gym and things of that nature. Like, what do you try to teach and educate them about, just about life in general besides basketball?
Oh yeah. I would probably say two things that I really harp on is just being goal oriented, you know, putting things down on paper, and, you know, just sticking to it, you know, having a plan, you know, having some type of vision for your future. So, you know, I always think, you know, you could put in all the work, but if you don't know what you're working towards, you know, it's really no good. And then probably the second thing is just decision making. You know, as student athletes, you put in these institutions where everybody knows who you are, and every day you're going to face, you know, a decision where you can do the right thing or the wrong thing. And, you know, and they happen quickly, you know, so just making sure that they always are understanding that people are watching them, and that when when those situations, excuse me, do present themselves, that they go the right way.
Man, you dropping some nuggets, you dropping some jewels today. Um, if you had a chance to, you know, sit down, talk to two or three guys, and it could be more, pick their brains, you know, what made them tick, what made them successful, or what they did. And it doesn't have to always be basketball. Who are
Yeah.
two or three guys that you would want to sit down and just like, man, what made them tick? What pushed
Yeah.
them or drove them? Who are two or three people that you would want to sit down and talk with?
Oh yeah, for sure. Off the rip, I probably definitely got to go with Michael Jordan. You know, just because I think he motivated a lot of people to just be ball players. You know, me growing up in the '90s and just seeing him on the television was just huge. And then just also to see the type of work ethic and the you know, the kill factor that he had. You know, I definitely want to see where that came from. And then probably second, I'm gonna probably try and pick somebody outside of the basketball realm. But let's see, it probably would be somebody like that's business oriented. I'll probably go with like Phil Knight. Just because, you know, I read his book, The Shoe Dog, and just to hear his type of creative and his approach to like marketing, and just how to get his brand out there, I thought was pretty cool. So I would definitely want to pick his brain about just some of the things that he did.
Man, yeah, you going for some big wigs, right? I like that. I like that. That's what you shoot for. Um, what's the strangest thing that a player has done outside of the basketball court that you've seen that just like you shook your head and just like, I can't believe this person did this or said that or something like that?
Um, Man, that's a tough one. You know, I think some people, they just have like some weird habits. Uh, outside of the basketball court. Maybe a couple of them are just a little bit too superstitious. But listen, I also was a college basketball player, at one point too. So, that, I probably did some stuff that people are like, yo, JB, you was wild too. But, I can't really think of anything off of the top. I say this. One of my teammates, we beat Boston College my freshman year. And we went out after the game, as we should, to celebrate. And he wore like his full uniform to the spot. Like we in there now. I say this now. With that being said, he had like 30 in the game, so as he should, but he was in there with his whole uniform on.
Wow, that's strange. That is strange. Yeah. That's definitely strange. Hey, like you said, beat Boston College. Like that's a huge win for you. What's the biggest accomplishment you have experienced since you've been, in college coaching?
Biggest accomplishment. Man, so I would probably say I've only been attached, outside of Mount St. Mary's. I've only been attached to one other school. And just one thing that, Coach O'Hanlon really preaches at Lafayette, you walk into the locker room and it's right on the walls. It just says, leave it better than you found it. That just pertains to, any situation that you're in right there, and when I got to Lafayette, I think our first season, we wrapped up the season and we was like 10-21, and when I left our last season, in addition to working with the other members on the staff as well, I definitely don't want to think that, I did this on my own, but working with the other, staff members like Jaron Dyson, Andrew Radamicki, Sean Hanna, and Coach O'Hanlon, we were able to go 19-12, you know what I mean? So when I left that situation, I felt very happy that I was able to, leave that, that program better than I found it. So I'd probably say that's probably my biggest, what was the word you used? My biggest
accomplishment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that. Like leave it better than when you came. I actually like that. What movie or TV show title best describes your week?
My week? Like what your you
like your work week, like you said, Monday to Friday, Monday to Saturday, whatever it is, like what do you say, man? Like some people say like, they'll come up with like some weird ones like, oh, Coming to America, or they just figure out what show or movie kind of like sums up your week.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna go probably with like some type of Denzel movie. I'm in the gym a lot, so maybe Training Day or Man on Fire. Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, you know what? And I've heard the Training Day several times.
Yeah,
Man on Fire is one of my favorites, so I do.
Same.
I can understand. Yeah. What's your favorite word or phrase that you like to use?
Oh, you ask any of the players on the roster right now, tighten up. It's because it's real quick, and they know what it means, because like sometimes if we're in practice, and the guys start like going through the motions, or they turning the ball over a little bit too much, or they just not doing what I think they're capable of. I'm gonna just give them a real quick tighten up, and they just like, all right, I got you. Yeah.
I like that. Tighten up, short and sweet, but they know what it means. Very powerful. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Man, I'm gonna probably go with some of my mom, she always used to hit me with, she always used to tell me just go the extra mile because it's the least traveled, just, doing a little bit more, just always, thinking that you've done something, but then put in a little bit more work, you know what I mean? Because it's going to pay off, and I think that really has, helped me a lot. Just, when I was playing ball, it definitely helped me, but then also as a coach, just trying to find new ways to do that as well has helped me.
Man, I like that. Extra mile. That's just pretty good. Success. It comes in all forms. So, what does success mean to you? Some people think it's how many games you win, or like, but what does success mean to you?
Mm, man, being successful is just making the best of any situation that you're in. Taking advantage of opportunity, using your resources properly. Success can be so many things. I think in basketball we get caught up, in the wins and losses because that's just what we measure by in coaching. But having success can be as simple as making sure kids are graduating. You know, having success could be making sure that kids are staying out of trouble. Just doing things like that. Having success could be just setting a good example, just for your players, because they are watching you at all times. But for me, I think just being able to wake up every day and do something that I'm passionate about, is success for me. I'm in a profession that at nighttime I used to dream about doing some of these things, and so me being able to do this right now, I feel successful.
And that's some good stuff. I do. And like I said, you're giving some great answers here. I like to ask this question because I think, and I had someone on earlier, and they kind of like, it reminds me of how I thought to someone related to me. Where is your happy place? Like you love the gym, you love being in the gym, all those things you love, but like sometimes you just need to take care of yourself. Sometimes you just need to get away from stuff. Where is your happy place where you can go to? It's calm, you're relaxed. Where is that place?
For me, I've always been somebody that's been involved in some type of like athletic, environment. Um, so I'm always in the weight room. Our staff right now, we do a very good job of just, at noon, we'll go and do a staff lift at an hour for an hour, and everybody just put some work in. They go into their own little world, for that 1 hour. And it's a stress release. Everybody comes out, a little bit more calmer, and we're able to go through the rest of our day. So I think I probably would definitely say the weight room, and then it's also cool just to see the results from being in there as well.
No, that's a great place to be, like you said, because that's what you want. Like I tell people, and I stole this idea from someone a few years ago. Like I used to call him, I'm like, man, where are you? He'd be like, I'm at therapy, and he was always in the movie theater by himself, and I started doing it myself.
Yeah.
Or I would go to get a massage, every 2 or 3 weeks, and like, because when you're in the movie theater, phone turned off, you don't have to answer it. It's just you watching. And I would be in the movie theater by myself. My wife would call me. She'd be like, where are you? I'd be like, oh, I'm in the movies. And I was like, no one's in here. Like, no one is in the movie. And, somebody, and you just sitting there. You don't have to answer your phone. You don't have to look at it. So trust me, like, I think you need that time. The weight room is perfect. Like, you probably got your headphones on or music is going on. And like, you just go to another world and you relax. So
exactly. Now you get a chance to vibe out. Yeah.
If you're not you've never been a self-promoter, you never, like, as a player, you didn't, hey, I'm this good, or you never bragged about yourself. Don't do that in coaching as well. I think you're a selfless person. You're serving people. If you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself,
Yeah.
which would you choose?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna go with relentless, um, resilient, and then persistent. You know, you just, because I will say this, and I think persistence is probably the biggest one, just because I could tell everybody knows your resume, or my resume, excuse me, and where I started and where I'm at now, but I could tell 1,000 no's that I heard as well. Like I definitely applied to several positions or reached out to several coaches when they had openings, and I heard no. And I just had to remain persistent and be patient in that process, because all it took was one yes. So had I just given up, when I thought it wasn't working out for me, I wouldn't be, where I'm at right now. So, I just kept grinding, kept putting my head down and going to work.
Well, 3 great answers right there. Like, what person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
What person? I definitely would say, I got to give it up to my parents. You know what I mean? Like my pops. Anybody that knows me from a basketball standpoint, in the DMV, they know my pops. You know what I'm saying? Because he was, right there with me. And as you get older, you start to realize a little more the sacrifices that he made to make sure that I could go to these tournaments, or be at these events and things like that. So I definitely say he had the biggest impact on me. In addition, with my mom as well, because, she was right there, making sure that all my academics was in order, and things like that. But I would say events, man, from a basketball standpoint, I would definitely say events that probably had the biggest impact on me, that kind of just altered, the way I looked at things, was probably some of the, rejections that I've had, that put a chip on my shoulder. I've been in situations where it didn't necessarily work out for me. I've been cut from basketball teams. I've had to transfer when I was in high school because, those situations weren't working out. But they put that battery in my back. It made me go a little bit harder. And then even at a young age, it made me look at, the way people, what they thought about me. They thought I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't capable of doing things. And just knowing my self-worth, and having confidence in myself, I think those situations really pushed me to be mentally strong.
I mean, well, I mean, I love it. Like, you use that, like putting that battery in your back. That's always a plus. I think a lot of people don't use motivation, and you did, which was successful. And like you said about your dad, Mr. Claude, like he definitely, everyone knows him in the DMV. He's just like, and it's interesting because he was never a guy who bragged. Like he didn't say, my son is this, he's that. Like he just let everything play out, you know what I'm saying? And he never like pushed you on anyone and to say how good you were. He was never worried, right? So like he's like, my son is gonna be okay. And that's the one thing I respected about him, because you got so many parents who are really pushing. He never was that way, and he was like, my son gonna be okay. But everyone respected him at the same time. So, I got to shout him out. That was one of the first people I asked about when I came up here. So, definitely had to shout him out. Like I said, both, and I'll say this, your parents did a great job of rearing you, because like you just weren't a great basketball player. You were a great human being as well. And like you said, that starts at home. And like I said, I'm not shocked where you are, and I won't be shocked to where you're going to be either. So I'm gonna definitely say that. I'll ask you this, like, what would you say was one of your better memories, like while you've been in coaching? What has been one of your better memories?
Man, just putting in the work. I would definitely say, you got to fall in love with the process. I've spent endless time, just, working with some of the student athletes that I've, coached, and just watching their progression, and just seeing their appreciation for the process that we went through. But I would say, from like maybe a couple of games or anything like that, I would say, one year we went like 4-0 against the Ivy League. Got to let that be known.
That's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Big deal.
Yeah.
So what energizes you and brings you excitement? Because I can hear it in your voice. You can tell, like you played with that as a basketball player. You were always ready to go. Like every game to you made it like it was going to be your last game.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What energizes you and brings you excitement then?
Man, I love to compete. I love to compete, and when I was playing, I used to say this thing, and people would think I'm joking, and I used to walk into the gym and people like, yo, JB, why are you so mad? And I say this all the time. I'm like, man, there's somebody in here that think they can check me. And people would be like, man, like, why do you say that? I'm like, I'm so serious right now, you know, and I would always just I took everything personal, you know, and I read people's body language a lot. I look at my opponent and I'm always like, you know, is he asleep? Is he underestimating me? You know, that's where I kind of just get an edge. But you know, always just, you know, seeing these opportunities to play basketball, I never want to take them for granted. You know, this is something that I just have loved to do since I was like a very young age. And then also, I also always thought that I might be a better coach than I was player, you know, and the reason I say that is because, you know, I was a smaller guard, you know, so at times my game might have been a little bit limited. You know, there were some things I couldn't do or some things I couldn't get away with, but I always had the IQ, you know, and understanding of the basketball game. So when I was able to, you know, deliver some of my knowledge to somebody that, was a bigger guard or had the frame of, you know, a high major guard or something like that, I felt like I was making them better. So, you know, when I'm able to do that right now, that actually gives me a rush, gives me a thrill.
Wow, I love it. Love that answer. Um, Knowing what you know now, what would you tell your young or younger self to prepare for as a college coach? Like, you know, you played for 4 years and you started, and everyone has the dream of being a professional basketball player. I mean, that's I mean, if you're not dreaming that, then you're in the wrong place. And then you get to college and you figure it out, and obviously you looked at it and said, you know what? You just said I'm gonna probably be a better coach than I'm gonna be a basketball player. Well, go back to you 18, 19, 20-year-old,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of realize like, you know what, I'm good. Yeah, I could play professionally, but what am I gonna do if I don't make it? Like, talk about what would you tell your younger self to prepare for as a college coach?
Um, just really take all these experiences that you have, bottle them up, and use them to your advantage. That's probably all I would think about. And then also just embrace yourself for the journey, you know, because it's not always gonna go well. There's gonna be days, you know, where things didn't go right for you, or you might be in a little bit of a slump. But you know, are you, you know, mentally tough enough to pull yourself out of that?
And I love it, love it. But look, Justin, man, I want to thank you again for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Is it anything that you want to leave with the people before we go?
Yeah, for sure. Be on the lookout for the mount this year. You know, I think we got a really good roster. I'm excited to join the defending champs in the NEC. I'm excited to work with one of my former coaches, with Coach Ingolstadt. And I also got to give a shout out to the rest of the staff as well, because they've been doing a really good, you know, job with Will Holland, Matt Miller. And then we have Jeremy Freeman. He's our ops guy right now, and he's doing a really good job. And you know, like I said, be on the lookout because we got a tough schedule coming up. And when the conference play, you know, pops out, you know, hopefully we can make some noise and get back to the tournament.
Well, you definitely got a chance to be really good. I will see you guys in person on I want to say it's the 13th of November at
Mm.
St. Joe's.
Yeah.
It's on my schedule. One of the games that I have to watch to evaluate. So I'll be there for that. But no, I mean, I wish you guys the best of luck as well. And I appreciate you again for coming on. And I want to thank the viewers for watching another great show, and stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time and stay safe.
All right. Appreciate you, Lamar.